going to talk about that in a second. I just wanted to ask you guys on the striker thing about Gyökeres. Arsenal were linked with him today about doing a deal and triggering the buyout clause, but they've been linked to Šeško and Vlahovic. What was your gut feeling telling you about Arsenal's movements to what we know that there's all the rumours and the speculation that they've already got a deal in place for Zubimendi in the summer, very good. But do you guys think they're going to sign a striker? They're going to sign an attacker? Like, gut feeling, what are you saying, Lawless?
Yeah, it's a weird one because the way I look at it reminds me very much of what we're doing. Very scattergun approach. No real this one profile we're going to look at. We're going by numbers. So they seem desperate to get someone. That approach, I don't necessarily agree with in terms of if they're going to get the right one. Of let's just scattergun out there. Let's go for any striker rather than have a focused approach to strikers. Their financial situation, they love spreading payments over multiple seasons. So I'd be very surprised to see them do a release clause. So what the Kroenke is going to have to do and step up and put their money where their mouth is. And that seems to be what they've slowed down from doing, from what they were doing. You know what I mean? So it feels like if I had to really go for it, where they are, they'll probably get a striker. Whether it's these ones like Gyökeres, I can't say whether it's going to be the heavy hitters in January. They might end up having to wait till the summer and try and get someone that's gettable a bit cheaper that can come in and maybe isn't going to be the guy, the superstar. I think it's going to be very hard for a lot of clubs. And what Staffy was saying about what's his name, Canadian Ken and things like that. What was his name?
Canadian Ken.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. For Arsenal, I do think trying to get the superstar in now makes sense while they're still in touching distance. For clubs like Man United and West Ham, we cannot get Europe. We're not getting Europe. We're not getting relegated. If you can wait till any club that can wait till next summer, that's the best time to do the business. Because when you buy out of desperation, and this is inclusive for like Arsenal, Chelsea, and you can't have that full time to really scout, you're just like, he's available, let's get him. That's how you end up with, like we have the Danny Ings and things like that, panic desperation buys. And if you're Arsenal, you don't want to be fleeced like that in the window. You want to be able to have full strength of negotiation, your options. So, yeah.
If I may. So since we're talking about that, look at what City did as an example. And they did exactly what Nubbins said one time on one of the top 6 shows. Me and him had this debate. And he said that he believes right now, since he wrote off the season in a City sense. When you write off the season as a Man City fan, you're just saying you're not winning the league. Okay? So he right now knows that their best option this season is just to finish top 4. He said, let's go right now in January, get the targets that we wanted to get in the summer, and there you go. You expedited the signing by 6 months. These players need to come in and have like a year under Pep, developmental year, get used to the league, get used to the thing. How about we just speed it up by 6 months if we can get them around the same prices? They went ahead and did that. They probably wanted Mermoush in the summer because guess what? Pep came out and said they wanted to rebuild in the summer. I said no. Let's see out one more year. So he admitted he was wrong. So what did they do to do it in January? So they probably wanted Mermoush in the summer. They got him now. They wanted the what's the Uzbek's name? I keep forgetting his name. I need to learn his name. The Uzbekistani guy's name, the defender and the Brazilian defender. They went and got them 3 in January. City don't usually make that much business in January, but they did it right now because they're like, you know what? Let's just be ahead of the curve. We already set back ourselves this season. So these were the targets for the summer. Let's get them now. Kusanov, thank you, chat. That's the player that I was looking for. Kusanov. Now, Arsenal, there is someone right now on their list that they want to sign as a striker in January. I don't in the summer. I don't know who it is. It could be anyone. If I'm them right now, I'm like, you know what? I ideally wanted to make this signing in the summer. But right now, I have Saka out. I have Jesus ACL. Even Wanieri, who I was shoehorning in right now, he's injured. I need attackers right now. Let me go get that attacker that I wanted in the summer and get him now. So this way, I don't completely write off the season. And I just try to put myself in a position where I could still establish something and win something this year. It doesn't have to be
a pass. That's a strong mindset, though, Staffy.
But it doesn't. But Laws, what I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be a sign where like, oh my God, I never thought I would need an attacker this summer, this January. Who is available? And then they just go sign anyone. That's a panic signing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying go look at that list that you were going to buy anyways in the summer and say, you know what, let's phone up this club right now and say, instead of doing this in the summer, I'm going to do it right now. And this way I can still try to do something this season. I don't think that's a panic at all. That is actually a sign of a big club, in my opinion, because it's not a reactionary move, but it's like, you know what, I was prepared, but something unexpected happened. I'll still
but that can have a knock-on effect on your other transfers, Safi. Because if you're paying January tax, you're paying extra money. Yeah, you would have signed. And I agree with what you're saying.
Big clubs here.
I look at it this way. General Lawless, I get your point, right? And I'm an advocate for not. I always say to fans, ask your club to sell. Don't ever try not to overpay and undersell, because you burn the candle at both ends. And if you look at it as like a metaphor for life, there's truth here. You burn the candle at both ends, bad things happen in the end. But what you can do every now and then is, it might be a work night, but every now and then staying up a bit later and having a few bevies and getting a bit drunk, that's not going to ruin your life. It isn't going to make you unwell. You know, it's like when you eat food, right? If you eat pretty good 7 days a week, 12 months of the year, and then every now and then you grab a Big Mac or you grab a curry or a takeaway, that isn't going to damage you in any way, shape, or it's moderation. I don't think it messes Arsenal's finances up. If they got, do you know what? This January, we were going to wait to the summer and spend 50 million pounds on Gyökeres. It's going to cost us 17 million more now, but we could win that Champions League, because they could win that Premier League. If they'd have had Gyökeres all season, they're top of the league right now, in my opinion. I think they win some of those games they've drawn this season. I think he scores in those games against Newcastle and Man United, therefore giving them a much better chance of making the final and knocking Man United out. And the mood's different. And I think if they went out now and went, boom, there's 80 million euros, give us Gyökeres. Even if they missed out, I think even some of the most, I'll use the word, negative Arsenal fans who always look on who are I shouldn't say negative, more pessimistic Arsenal fans, I still think they would look at it and go, do you know what? A little bit late, should have done it in the summer, but at least you tried. I think it buys you a lot of goodwill, a lot of good faith, and it puts a little bit more, you're more likely to get longer term support around what you're trying to do. So I do look at listen, and they might be working on something, and maybe they're throwing a few smoke screens out and trying to distract people, but I think they need something big this window. I think they need it for the fans. I think they need it to keep their title hopes and Champions League hopes alive. Everyone laughs when they say they can win the Champions League. Look, I don't think it's impossible. I know people say they never have, so they never will, and there's some logic to that. But you throw in a Victor Gyökeres, you throw in players of that quality, they've got a much better chance. And I just think they should. I think they should be taking this slight gamble. Personally, I really think they should.
Do you think they will, Terry? That's going to be the interesting thing.
No, my gut feeling, not someone of Gyökeres level or an Isak's impossible at that level. I think they may bring in somebody of a level of a Šeško or a Vlahovic, and I think the thinking behind that may be we'll bring in that level of striker that will help us and will score more goals. He's a better number 9 than Kai Havertz. And then in the summer, I think they may go for the better version. So they end up, because they need 2, by the way. And I heard people say, I don't want Šeško. I kind of get they don't want Šeško to be their lead. What they really need is Gyökeres and Šeško, both at their club. They can play some games together. You can rotate. There's both out-and-out number 9s. That is, again, I'm only looking from the outside. That is what they should be aiming to have in that team. Because
what do you think, Terry, about if you're a Gyökeres, or Vlahovic or anyone coming in, right? You're being brought in and the understanding you're going to be the starting number 9, right? You see Kai Havertz there on nearly 300 grand a week. Are you demanding that? Because that obviously they're not. I don't think they're going to be able to sell Kai Havertz. They're stuck with Kai Havertz because who's paying them wages. So do you think now they've set a precedent where they're going to have to start playing?
Yeah, slightly, and that happens when you become a better team. So I always remember Liverpool fans when they first started to look good under Klopp. Oh, look at our wage bill compared to everybody else. And I said, yeah, that's because you're on this growth. But as soon as your players get new deals and they're much higher, the new signings are going to want much higher. And within a few years, your wage bill is going to be similar to that, to the other successful and big teams again. So this is par for the course. Any team becomes, and I know that some gooners don't like the word success to be used, so we'll change the word success to not trigger people because they'll lose sight of what's being said. When you get to a point where you're challenging for Premier League titles year in, year out, and you've done it consistently now, they're going into their third year of being in a title race, your wage bill is going to naturally increase. I just think it's a sort of symptom of being that good. You can't turn around to Victor Gyökeres or Isak or Nico Williams and say, we see you as one of the final pieces of the jigsaw, and then go, there's 50 grand a week. You can't sell that to them. If you're the final piece of the jigsaw, that means you're valued when you come in at the same level as your Sakas, as your Odegaards, as your Salibas, and they're going to demand the money. And that's probably more of an issue for Arsenal than the transfer fee. Is historically as a club, they haven't regularly enough, in my opinion, paid the enough in salary. It's why they lost the Vieiras. It's why they lost the Cesc Fabregas. For me, it was always about offering people, other players, the correct amount of money for their ability. You know, they had Cesc Fabregas was one of the best central midfielders in the world at the time. He wasn't being paid at Arsenal at the same rate as his peers at other giant football clubs, and it's something Arsenal fans have got to prepare them. A lot of Arsenal fans have always used it as like a tool. Oh, I know United won the league, but look, we pay £60 million a year less in salary. I never understood the flex. It never made any sense to me. It was always a case of...
It did get bloated for a while, and they brought it down. I think sort of the later Wenger years into the Emery years, they had a very bloated wage budget, and they was all very excited about bringing it down, getting some of these higher earners off the wage books. And now it seems to be creeping up into that where you've got those players. I think it's fine if you've got a player on your wages, like you said, like an Isak who's banging in goals and he's on like, 300 grand a week, or like Salah's on your highest paid player. But when they start having these players like the Havertz, Sterling, obviously he's on loan, but Jesus, these players on high wages, that's where I think they're getting into.
No, I agree. And speaking of